Lieutenant Colonel William Watkins, Commander, 48th Operations Support Squadron, welcome to the promotion ceremony of Senior Master Sergeant Christopher Wagoner. I am A1C Courtney Lowe, your narrator for today's event. We would like to extend a warm welcome to all family, friends, and colleagues of Senior Master Sergeant Wagoner. The Armed Services have a long-standing tradition of celebrating the promotion of its members in a formal ceremony. This ceremony is a public indication of the confidence placed in them by leadership to carry out new and increased levels of responsibility. It also allows family, friends, and colleagues of the newly promoted members the opportunity to celebrate and share this hard-earned achievement. Today we gathered to promote Senior Master Sergeant Wagoner to the rank of Chief Master Sergeant. The rank of Chief Master Sergeant was created by Congress in 1958 and restricted to only the top 1% of the total enlisted force. In December 1959, 620 airmen were the first to be promoted to the top enlisted grade. Airmen selected were leaders who possessed unique talents and displayed the personal characteristics required to lead Air Force people and programs at the highest level. Today, Senior Wagoner will join the 1%. He has shown the potential for increased responsibility and that he possesses the attributes needed to be a chief. After today, he will drop all previous titles and simply be known as Chief. Lieutenant Colonel Watkins, can you please come forward to provide remarks?
First of all, thank you, LC, for narrating. And Sergeant Shaw, where are you at? No, she's around here somewhere, maybe at Sergeant Shaw, she's going to be an OSI agent soon, so sneaking around back there. Thank you, Sergeant Shaw, for organizing this event. To the Chiefs group, thank you guys for showing up. Chief Garrett, Chief Kinder Timms, Michelle, Braden, Christopher, and the other squadron commanders in the room, thank you guys for coming today for today's monumentous occasion on the promotion of Chief Master Sergeant Christopher C.D. Wagoner, selection and promotion to Chief Master Sergeant effective tomorrow. First of all, I truly mean this, Chris, thank you for allowing me to officiate and say some words about you, my friend, my former superintendent, and soon to be Chief Master Sergeant. So a couple weeks ago, Chris came up to me and said, "Hey, boss, I'd like you to officiate and say some words." I'm like, "Great, that's awesome. What do you want me to talk about?" And he said, "Whatever you do, don't do a step-by-step rehash of my life. That's boring." And I'm like, "Well, great, what do I talk about?" And he's like, "I don't know, that's why you get paid the big bucks, so figure it out." So have any of you guys watched the TED Talk? Right? What is the catchphrase or theme of a TED Talk? Does anybody know what the slogan is? Ideas worth spreading. So I have a few ideas worth spreading about Chris that I'd like to share with you, and hopefully some of you might latch onto and use in your own lives. The first idea that's important to know about Chris is dad jokes. Idea number one. So I'm going to try my hack at a few CD dad jokes. You see how they go. If I've got a backup plan, so bear with me here. All right. My friend can only sleep on stacks of old magazines. He's got back issues. Come on. My dad suggested that I register for a donor card. He's a man after my own heart. This is one that I particularly found appealing, being that I fly airplanes. Recently, I was found guilty of being egotistical. I'm appealing. I know it. What do you call an elephant that doesn't matter? It's irrelevant. This morning, Siri said, "Don't call me Shirley." I had my phone on airplane mode. So if you know CD, that's his hip pocket. I don't got a joke, but I got a dad joke. Here you go. But the idea we're sharing here with CD is not so much that he's humorous, and he is humorous. It's his attitude. And this is the idea that I want you to take away with CD. It's the idea specifically that your strength of character and your ability to succeed lies no further than in one's attitude. Chris's attitude is personified by positivity. Period, full stop. He's a man that's faced hard times, overcome adversity, all the while kept his chin up, kept a smile on his face. Finally, I'm inspired by Chris, and here are a few reasons why. I didn't get to choose my first superintendent, but I will tell you I was lucky enough to get Chris as my first superintendent, probably the luckiest squadron commander in the Air Force, I would say. So, August 18th, 2018, change of command, first day, day one, squadron commander. Do the change of command, I'm back into my office, reflecting. Chris comes pounding down into my door. Boss, closes the door. We gotta fix something. What do you mean? Like, what did I do? Like, the situation already, day one? No. He's like, the airmen are crushing the mission. But they're bored. He's like, I don't see a lot of smiles around the squadron, so we gotta fix something. He's like, well, what do you suggest, Chris? He's like, well, we need a mascot. So, with that, I give you, drum roll, Eagle Can Eagle. High fives for everyone. Eagle Can Eagle, Chris's inspiration, Chris's idea, and what an impact Eagle Can Eagle has made on our squadron. Just a little massage there, Eagle. That would be good. Those senior master shoulders can get a little heavy. All right. You see, Chris ID'd the heart of the issue in our squadron. That it's okay for airmen to be professional airmen, to crush the mission, but also cut up a little and have fun. The chief has made this a mission recently, that it's okay to have fun at your job. And that's something that Chris has brought to our squadron, and I hope he continues to bring that going forward, because you've made a huge impact on that in that regard. So, what I'd like to do now is peel back the onion a little bit, and I know you didn't ask me to, you told me not to do this, but the airmen in the crowd want to know what makes CD Wagoner Chief Wagoner. Okay, so we're gonna go back in time a little bit. All right, I gotta go to my notes here for this. First of all, Chris hails from Indianapolis, Indiana. He's a Colts fan, and I know this because I've seen his mess dress party shirt. That's the only reason why I know he's a Colts fan. I'm just kidding. He will let you know that he's a Colts fan. I reached out to Mrs. Wagner and the other Mrs. Wagner, Mama Mrs. Wagner, and asked to get some insight on CD and his childhood. And she writes, he's a mama's boy. True and true. He still refers to me as mommy. Mommy used to say that Chris used to say at bedtime. This was his daily ritual. Night night, love you, see you in the daytime. Something that he still says to his boys to this day. Can we get it all? His mom said, mommy, says that he was, quote, the good son. I'm not sure what that means. On his way to his first Air Force base, Mount Hope Air Force Base, he regretted his decision initially to join the Air Force. Probably looking at the desert prairies and on home is not very inspirational. Calls mommy, and she talks him through it, like, just stick with it, son. And CD will tell you it's the best decision that he's ever made. I'm going to take difference with that and say it's probably the second best decision you've ever made, because your first best decision is sitting right there in a little blue elephant. So, other things. She says he's a perfectionist. I agree with that. He likes going to the beach. Probably long walks too. I don't know. He likes Scotch whiskey. I threw that in there. He likes gangster rap. If you go back to 1998, his CD portfolio, aka playlists, for those of you that were born in my year, CD portfolio contained the likes of DMX, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre. What else? Tupac, right? Okay. more importantly, back to my theme here, your theme, a man with positive attitude. And so his first assignment wasn't perfect. And Chris would tell you his career hasn't been perfect either. But he did become an expert at his craft, that assignment. And I can tell you that as an aircrew member, there's no other person I'd like behind the mic than Chris when something goes wrong, except maybe Snoop Dogg. Here are a few highlights from his first assignment. I'm just going to read off a few things here. All right. Quote, outstanding under pressure. Controlled the recovery of 15 aircraft during a B-1 in-flight emergency, closed runway. Directed emergency response during an F-16 hydrazine leak. Superbly controlled emergency F-16 with hydraulic failure. Controlled holding deconflicted 4 other airborne aircraft. Directed the safe and efficient recovery of 15 challenging airborne emergency. And these are all from his first assignment. Later, he'd do a short stint at lodges and then come back to Mountain Home. And looking at his record and talking with a few of his supervisors, I think this is the assignment, the second assignment at Mountain Home that made Senior Wagoner, Chief Wagoner, the person that he is today, for 2 reasons. Okay, first of all, he showed up in a kind of a challenging scenario. The shop was undermanned, and they needed sharp controllers to step up right away. So his flight commander at the time, MC Olvera, who's now Lieutenant Colonel retired, wrote me and said, Chris should have been chief years ago. When Chris showed up, we had problems. None of the leadership was rated. The 3 levels couldn't pass the front load training. The stand-of-battle NCOs didn't have dual ratings as required by AFI. Chris was a risk and a jokester, but damn good at his job. I selected him for the stand-of-battle position, ahead of his peers. Chris was always cutting up, but something switched. He stepped up. He took on his new role immediately. He went from being a clown to running stand-of-battle overnight. Then people followed him. They listened, and they learned. It was still funny, though. The second most pivotal moment that happened during that assignment, Chris would deploy to IND in 2006, come back, and to let loose a little bit, decided that he's going to head out to the popular spot in Mountain Home, Idaho, the Stockyard, classy bar. I was stationed there at the same time, so I know this. He sees somebody at the bar that caught his eye. And rather than attempts to throw out a couple GM one-liners, which I know you have, he bought this young lady a shot, and which she took, and immediately returned to him in the fashion of puking all over his feet. So, love at first sight, I take it. You know that it's love when someone pukes on your feet and you ask them to marry you. I know. But I will say, back to the theme here, positive attitude. It took Chris 3 long years to finally get Michelle to say yes and marry him. I think maybe she just gave up and decided, all right, this guy needs business. And the Wagoners became a thing in January 2009. From Mountain Home, they went to the Holloman. 3 became 4. Young Christopher was born there. And then after Holloman, Michelle decided Chris needed a bit of a cooling off period, and he would head off by himself to Thule for a year for that. So some notes from that assignment there. His trend in excellence continued. Served as the chief controller position for an 8-month vacancy. Led 2 crews and 10 controllers during a radar failure. All right, I got a question. Radar failure in Thule. Radar failure last year at Lake Mead. I'm sensing a trend here, buddy. I'm giving McGuire a heads up. Scar tissue, sorry, inside joke for all the controllers in the room. Yeah. Okay, he was the DG at NCO Academy there. He chaperoned 24 kids at a pumpkin patch in Thule. You're gonna have to explain that one afterwards.
I might have crossed over.
All right. But luckily for the Wagoners, I got through that one, and I got to thaw out on the beaches of Tyndall, where Chris continued his excellence. He was selected as the chief controller for RAPCON and Tower there. He filled the chief master sergeant position as a master sergeant, and he got another deployment there to Manas while stationed at Tyndall. From there, you guys would PCS to Belgium, where Chris would cut his teeth for the first time as a superintendent. And then from Belgium to here, where Lieutenant Colonel Storms would rapidly pick him up, ooh, superintendent experience, and pulled you up to be the squadron superintendent of that. So from day one, Chris, you've been an airman-focused leader. Something to emulate. You love your people, and you love helping people grow. Chris's perspective, attitude, hashtag, fueled by optimism. It's an amazing philosophy to live by. It's helped him endure the hard times, carry through the deployments, get the mission done, and keep his coworkers' spirits up. You only have to look so far as to what his people, peers, and supervisors and subordinates have to say about him. So, without further ado, I'm going to open it up. Are there any airmen in the room that would like to say anything about Senior soon-to-be Chief Master Sergeant Wagner? Oh, Seth.
Surprise, surprise. Okay. I was told this is a very fire speech. Not sure what that means, but we will see. So, senior non-commissioned officer responsibilities epitomize excellence, professionalism, pride, and competence, serving as a role model for all airmen to emulate, reflect the highest qualities of a leader and professional, and provide highly effective leadership, be an active, visible leader, deliberately develop junior enlisted airmen, and an officer. Unfortunately, I never had the privilege to work under the astounding, the great, magnificent Senior Master Sergeant Christopher D. Wagner, because, in the words of Senior Josie Collins, I am a lowly AV technician, and I'm not out there saving lives every single day like you guys in the tower are doing. No, not sure that is. But that has not stopped me from seeing him a lot, especially since he became the superintendent of the OSS. I remember when you took the position, sir, I was like, okay, who's this guy? I'd never seen you before, I didn't know who you were. I was like, will he actually come around to the sections and see the people he's leading? And the answer was yes. He was regularly seen at the shop where I worked. He would just come in and chat with us, ask us what our plans were for the weekend, if we needed anything. And I can say that was not a closed offer. If you needed anything and it was within his power, he would see to it. Not only was Senior Wagner a great leader among his people of the OSS, but also at home with his family. He's always posting pics of his family, his sons Brady and Christopher, and the Boy Scouts. And Senior Wagner even got a matching uniform. Hashtag bad goals. I'm sure most, if not all of you, know his wonderful wife Michelle, the chief of the Wagner clan. With a woman like that by your side, you have to step up. I mean, come on. She was Black Widow for the squadron Halloween party. And Scarlett Johansson just got to run for her money, is all I'm saying. On a serious note, I am so happy for Senior Wagner and his accomplishment on making chief. I have no doubt he will continue to emulate great leadership and continue to lead airmen down a path of success. I am glad that I had the opportunity to work under him while he was here at Lakenheath. We wish your family and you could stay a lot longer, but we cannot be selfish. McGuire is super lucky to be getting such an excellent senior NCO. Don't forget about us while you're living it up in Jersey Shore. Just stay away from spray tans and white tank tops.
Thank you, Seth. Anybody else? How about an NCO? Oh, APA.
So I've worked with and for Senior Wagner for about 2 years. My first 6 months actually were with him. He was the tower chief controller while I was doing the stand-up air traffic. But luckily I was able to transition and work for him. You were the tower chief controller, and I was fortunate enough to actually be able to take over a group. It was all great. I was like, yeah, it's awesome. I knew him. It's great. That first relationship, and then about a month in, he made a choice I didn't fully agree with. It's like, I don't want to be that cocky NCO that goes to question my leadership now. So I was like, I actually have to sit down and talk to him now. This is bad. So it didn't really click into my head until I got to down your office. This is recipes for disaster. It's a taekwondo senior, and I'm not trying to question you. But I was like, okay, he's a sound guy, he's a little guy, he'll understand. So long story short, we talked for about 15, 20 minutes, and he looked me in the eye and he's like, you know what, yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. And so I'm sorry. I had limited information. If I could go back, I would change some stuff. And you know what that told me about him? First thing it told me a lot about his character. As a person, on a personal level, he actually felt the need to tell me sorry. I wasn't looking for that kind of closure. I was just trying to be heard. And secondly, it told me a lot about your basic leadership. As leaders, we try not to be too stubborn. It's hard for us to admit when we're wrong. But more importantly, as controllers, we're very stubborn. We're kind of we're never wrong. So that meant a lot to me, sir. That spoke a lot about your character and you as a leader. So I thank you for your mentorship and everything. I wish you in the back and family the best.
Anybody else? Maybe a senior NCO?
So, Colonel Watkins sent me an email and said, to do a speech on TED Talks. So I'm like, sure, boss, I'll do it. I'm like, who the hell is TED? I don't know who TED is. So I Googled it. TED didn't show up, but a whole bunch of little speeches showed up with, like Sergeant Shaw said, with the earpiece. So I don't have the earpiece and I'm not going to walk back and forth. So a couple of the speeches that I clicked on and looked at, it was on different leadership styles, and I picked two that reminded me of you. A vulnerable leader, which doesn't mean accepting criticism from just anyone, but it does mean being open to learning from people whose opinions really matter. The vulnerability does not mean being weak or submissive. Instead, it implies the courage to be yourself. It means replacing being professional and keeping the distance with uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. Sometimes we take risks and they pay off, at times they don't, but a vulnerable leader can handle this with confidence and strength. Another one is a daring leader. A daring leader takes the time to explain the why behind strategies and how tasks link to ongoing priorities and mission work. Rather than handing down black and white mandates stripped of story, they hold themselves responsible for adding texture and meaning to work and tying smaller tasks to the larger purpose. It's learning and unlearning that requires great work, tough conversations, and showing up with your whole heart. I just wanted to tell you, thank you for your leadership, thank you for your guidance, thank you for not forgetting about the top 2%, which is 4 or 5 singing members starting to sing on the spot. And enjoy yours.
Finally, I reached out to my predecessor, Lieutenant Colonel Storms, and he wrote a little piece here, which I'll read. CD is going to be an incredible chief. Not only is the true master of his craft, he is the epitome of servant leader, always looking out for his airmen and challenging them to be better. As part of my command team, I could always count on CD to provide me solid counsel and advice. And if I could lead better, he wasn't afraid to let me know. I loved watching him interact with our airmen. He leads with the heart. And like me, the smartest thing he ever did was marry up. And somehow convince Michelle to be his bride. Together they are an awesome team and are going to do incredible things for our Air Force. I wish I could be there. Please give CD a big hug for me. And if you don't mind, hold on until it gets a little awkward. Then whisper in his ear, "That's from Lieutenant Colonel Storms." Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this promotion isn't just about Chris and his accomplishments. We know that this is a team effort. And the Wagoners are the epitome of that. Chris and Michelle are dedicated to each other, to the squadron, to the children, and to their community. They run a massive Cub Scout band of over 100 plus scouts and influence the lives of many young people. They pour their hearts into it. Michelle, we all know in here that you are Chris's secret ingredient. Your creativity and fearlessness have been an asset to the OSS for over the last 2 years. And I have no doubt that if not for Michelle, Chris would not be who he is today. Michelle, your devotion to Chris, Braden, and Christopher is unshakable. And your dedication to your military family, to this military family, is formidable. I cannot thank you enough for being by Chris's side and for making him the man that he is today. and I cannot thank you enough for all that you have done to support our OSS families. Braden and Christopher, know that your dad is a hero. Because of him, these complex aircraft that take off and land every day do it and do it safely. He's the real Captain America, and you can be proud of him. For everyone here, we'll close with a final thought. If you're looking for that special sauce that can help you endure, persevere, succeed under challenging circumstances, then I think you have to look no further than what Senior, now soon to be Chief Wagoner personifies, and that is attitude, positivity, positive attitude. And with that, I'll close with something that probably only folks that were pre-circa 2000 might know, and that is a infamous Top Gun quote. Chris, you can be my superintendent anytime. Congrats, Chief.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the publishing of the order. Attention to orders. The President of the United States has placed special trust in the patriotism, integrity, and abilities of Senior Master Sergeant Christopher Wagoner. In view of these special qualities and his demonstrated potential to serve in the highest enlisted grade, Senior Master Sergeant Christopher Wagoner is promoted to Chief Master Sergeant, effective 1 May 2019, by the order of the Secretary of the Air Force. Ms. Wagner, Braden, and Christopher Jr. will now come forward to tack on the stripes. Thank you, Ms. Wagner, Braden, and Christopher Jr. To commemorate this memorable occasion, Chief Master Sergeant Kinder Timms will now come forward and read the Chief's.
All my fellow chiefs could please stand and join me. All right, Chief Master Sergeants are individually regarded as people who cannot be bought, whose word is their bond, who put character above wealth, who possess opinions and a will, who will not lose their individuality in a crowd, who will not hesitate to take chances, who will be as honest in small things as in great ones, who will make no compromise with wrong, whose ambitions are not confined to their own selfish desires and interests, who are true to their friends through good report and ill report, in adversity as well as prosperity, who do not believe that shrewdness, cunning, and hard-headedness are the best qualities for winning success, who are not ashamed or afraid to stand for the truth when it is unpopular, who can say no with emphasis, although all the world is saying yes. Chief Wagoner, it is my distinct privilege to be the first to welcome you to the Chiefs Group. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief Kinder Timms. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Chief Master Sergeant Wagoner. Chief, the floor is yours.
morning, and I promise this won't be long. So first, I wanted to express my thanks, my gratitude for you all for coming here, my chief friends, my family. Colonel Watkins, I'd like to thank you for making this less retirement, more promotion. That's what I asked for, and you stepped up and made that happen. LC, thanks for being the narrator. Yasmin, I don't know where you're at. You're still sneaking around.
Suicide. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we won't see her. She's in a suit somewhere. Thanks for putting all this together. Seth, BA, Tamika, thanks for standing up and saying some kind words. I didn't expect that. That was nice of you all. Most of all, though, I want to thank my family. Braden and Christopher. I remember just a few short months ago when promotion results were about to come out. Kind of thought I might have made it. My boys looked at me and said, "Daddy, please don't make it." I said, "Well, that's really not the attitude we're going for." But they knew that if I made it, we would have to uproot ourselves yet again and move somewhere new. And they wanted to stay here with their friends that are here in the crowd, actually. And surely enough, I made it, and yeah, they're uprooting me, and I'm moving again. So thank you, boys, for being so strong as we move around the world in pursuit of Daddy's career. I really appreciate you guys, and I love you guys for it. And to my wife, Michelle. You kind of heard the story of when we met and when we started dating. Michelle was a crew chief, an F-16 crew chief, and then later F-15s. And she was medically separated from the military. And I remember the emotion that she had when she was being medically separated, because if you've ever met my wife, she doesn't do anything half-ass. Like it's all or nothing. And she was going to be a chief. And I will tell you to this day, if they hadn't medically separated her, she would be probably wearing a star between her chief stripes and welcoming me into the chief's group, because she surely would have beaten that. And I was a tech select and she was a senior M at the time. So. But she kind of made a comment, and in my, just trying to make her happy, because that's what I do. I said, you know what, babe, I'll make chief for you. And I don't know how much I meant it, but today I kind of feel like this is a promise fulfilled. So I'm off for that one. And I'm truly, I wouldn't have gotten here without you. You know that. I'm so much better of a person when I'm with you. If anybody knows my story, I'll share with you the finer details of it. But as Colonel Watkins alluded to, I had a rough start. Really rough start. We had a very interesting set of EBRs if you want to have a look. And nobody would have thought that I'd have made it to this thing, except for a few people. Who saw something in me, who kind of saved me, if you will. Staff Sergeant John Gunther, Master Sergeant Daryl Haskett, Chief Eric Paddock, and retired Chief Robin Cruz. Both, and there's 4 people there, so that's somebody to get in trouble. So they all kind of saw something in me. I was supposed to be force-shaped a long time ago, and Chief Cruz actually stepped up for me. Really stepped in the way of the commander and said, "No, I don't know what it is about this kid, but there's something special there." And every time I get promoted, I message her specifically on Facebook and say, "Thanks." So this is extra special for me. And if any of my controllers in the room know Chief Cruz, she's pretty amazing, and she definitely stepped up for me. But for my friends in the room, it's because I had a bunch of supervisors that didn't give up. We live in an Air Force today that's ruled by, it's a one-mistake Air Force, and I'm living proof that it's not. It's not a one-mistake Air Force. It's not even a two-mistake Air Force. So don't give up on your people. See something great in them, and then push for them and stand behind them. But truly, I'm better because of you, and thank you for that. But kind of my mantra, and Colonel Watkins said it a lot, and I didn't even give him the cues to, is that you can get through anything with the right attitude. And I smiled through it all. In fact, I got myself in trouble because I was smiling and joking about circumstances that people didn't think I should be joking about. But that's the only way I know how to get through anything, is to be funny. I know in our command team, I told several people, I think I'm going to get myself in trouble because I'm never serious about anything. Colonel Domberg looked at me with sheer disdain because I was not as serious as I should be in some of these circumstances. And that's kind of been the way I live my life. And when I'm nervous, I joke about things. And finally, and I didn't know you were going to reach out to my mom. This is so funny. I want to thank my mommy. My mommy. My mom taught me two things when I was growing up, and she didn't ever know she was doing it. The first was work ethic. She was a single mom, 2 kids. My brother was not the greatest of kids. He was constantly in trouble. I was trying to hold it down. But I say work ethic because she worked as many jobs as she needed to make sure that we had everything that the people around us had. We got the same presents for Christmas as all my friends did. We lived in the same neighborhood the whole time I grew up until I moved off to Indiana. This is in Florida. And that's because she really pushed herself towards that. And it's always been me. You know, I'm rarely sick. I always come to work. When I'm at work, I feel like I'm working about 70% of the time. So, and the other thing she taught me was kind of comes from a quote that I've heard recently is to bloom where you're planted. My mom only had a high school education, went into every job that she had, and by the time she was done with it, she was running the place. And people really couldn't do what they were doing without it. She went from making hardly anything to making a pretty great living today, just because she always stuck to it. And it didn't matter if she was the bookkeeper, the secretary, whatever, she made herself. She eventually became running the company. And I've always put myself in that position, whether it's to be a watch supervisor and leading a crew as best as I could possibly, stand up our program, the best that I feel the best that ever existed. To being a chief controller and really looking out for my people, to continuously learning and trying to be better. And more often than not, I fail, but I try and I try and I try to be the best I can be in whatever position I'm in. And I want to remind all of you to try to do the same in your all. And finally, just again, like to say thank you all for coming out, and that's all the words that I have put together.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise to the playing of the Air Force song, Departure of the Official Party.
Yeah.